Come see us on tour in Dallas, Austin, Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, New York, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohoes, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for the link for the cheapest tickets. So guess what? Trump is shutting down funding for USAID. Now, USAID is a front organization for the CIA, and they do it by I'm going to show you how they do it in a second.
Now do National Endowment for Democracy.
Musk says we're yeah, it's the same thing. The NED, National Endowment for Democracy, USAID. It's just how the billionaires through the deep state control the world. Yeah. It's how we do imperialism and hegemony. And
make viruses in Wuhan.
That's how we overthrow, we've overthrown 100 governments, most of them democracies, since World War II. That's how we do it. That's why
the president doesn't have the highest security clearance, which should bother the hell out of you.
So, look at that. So Musk, they're going to wrest control of USAID, as Musk says, we're shutting it down. Look at it. Why did they make the US blue and the AID red? Oh, I see. So they could trick idiots. Okay.
Yeah, I fell for it. I'm a big dummy. I was like, oh, USAID. I didn't know it was USA.
So did you know that USAID doesn't even stand for aid? It stands for United States Agency for International Development. And their budget is bigger than the State Department and the CIA combined. USAID. So that's their. It should be called USCIAID because that's all it is.
Oh, Max Blumenthal and Aramonte were 100% right when 3 years ago I first heard there was a CIA cutout, but now I think the CIA is the cutout of USAID.
That's right. So watch this. So this is Mike Benz. He's going to explain to you exactly what USAID is. Here it is.
So what is USAID? When people hear the name USAID, they focus on aid. They focus on thinking like it's humanitarian work. But aid is not actually in the name of USAID. USAID stands for the United States Agency for International Development, not aid. It's not a charity. And international development is simply capacity building.
So USAID is a black ops bank account. That's what it is. It's not it's not America helping other people any more than Gatorade is a charity for alligators.
And what is Black Ops? Despicable crime your country does, and that's why they call it Black Ops, because it's illegal and evil.
That's right. So here he's going to explain the rest. He calls it capacity building. What? What does that mean?
It is local and regional capacity building done across the whole world, i.e. internationally. The primal id in USAID, international development, is about capacity building of assets that can be used by either the Pentagon, the State Department, or the CIA for their own activities. So if you're the Secretary of State and you were asked by the National Security Council or the President to do something in a different country, overthrow their government, stop the passage of a bill in a foreign country's legislature, how would you do that? And the first thing that I said is you would look at the assets that already exist in the country. Do we need new assets in addition to the ones that we currently have, or are the existing assets, can they achieve this simply by giving them enough money, giving them enough resources, giving them enough training?
So like what they'll do is they want to create unrest in a country, they'll go and give billions of dollars to maybe some unions, or they'll give billions of dollars to whatever, some groups. They'll invent the groups, and then they'll create...
kind of what they did here.
Yeah,
with BLM, kind of the same thing that they do to the other countries.
Yeah,
that's what they did to you.
That's right.
They're going to keep doing it.
That's right. Okay.
Bring them enough support. One of the main ways that capacity building would be financed would be through USAID. USAID would say that it's doing something, funding a hospital system, funding universities, funding civil society organizations, funding media institutions, funding independent media in the region. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Independent media in the region on USAID payroll. And those institutions, those assets would then be bigger and more powerful and more more capable of serving the State Department's goal, aka advancing U.S. national interests. USAID has a bigger budget.
And by U.S. national interests, what he means there is Western economic hitmen's interests, meaning Wall Street's interests, the military-industrial complex interests, big pharma's interests, which is why the CIA covered up the COVID thing. And where it came from. The deep state, the blob, is there to serve corporate power and billionaire power. It's not there to serve U.S. So when he says U.S. national interest, he doesn't mean the people's interest. He means the people who run the government's interest, the billionaire class, the donor class, Wall Street, the military-industrial complex. That their interests. That's what the USAID is there to do. Okay.
The State Department. Over $50 billion. It is a bigger budget than the CIA. The entire intelligence community only has about 72 billion. So that's the CIA plus the 16 others. And USAID has a bigger budget than the CIA and is almost the size of the entire intelligence community combined. That is how important USAID is to American statecraft. It is.
And Trump just shut it down. So all the, what's a better term? All the fuckery that the evil criminals who work in our CIA and NSA, all those people in USAID doing fuckery around the world, overthrowing governments, sowing color revolutions, all that stuff, overthrowing democratically elected governments on the regular, and installing right-wing governments that are loyal to the corporations, to the U.S. economic hitmen. That's what they're doing. Okay.
An intelligence community, a State Department, and a Pentagon assistance organization rolled into one. I just copied this from the USAID website. USAID carries out U.S. foreign policy, advances U.S. national interests by promoting broad-scale human progress. At the same time, it expands stable, free societies, creates markets and trade partners for the United States, and fosters goodwill abroad. The operative phrases here are carries out U.S. foreign policy. This is not charity work. This is not aid. This is cynical, self-serving purposes. And what is it seeking to do? Free societies, open societies.
Open.
Why does USAID want other countries to be open societies?
Why?
Because that's how you get the influence in. If a country is a closed society, they're closed off from USAID influence. We cannot capacity build our assets there. Closed societies box USAID out. China is a closed society. That is why we have not been able to topple the government of China, despite having tried for 100 years now almost. We have not been able to topple Putin from Russia. Why? Because Russia is a closed society. Like China, they kicked USAID out. It is not an open society. And so the USAID can't just take over their entire media ecosystem by funding 100 different media.
So that's what we did in Ukraine. The United States funded all their media outlets, these right-wing media outlets that were in bed with the Nazis that propagandized their people. So that's just like kind of like what they do here in the United States, but they don't. What?
So I love telling this to conservatives, okay, because they all, the CCP, blobbity blop, Tiananmen Square, which we know from WikiLeaks was not
Soros.
China being violent. That was George Soros who fomented that and was not welcome back after. Did Billy Joel sing about that in his "We Didn't Start the Fire" song? No. I didn't know until Jackson the Hair Hinkle showed it to me, and I remember shouting like, what? Because that Tiananmen Square bullshit that right-wingers still believe in their heart and don't want to let go of, that was George Soros. I can't say it to Republicans enough. George Soros was behind that.
Propaganda outlets in the region to sway hearts and minds. And remember, that's what this is. It's hearts and minds and cash. That's what soft power is. They call it hearts and minds work, but it's cash that does the moving of those hearts and minds, especially of the leaders of the movements.
So that's what USAID is. So Amy Klobuchar, again, she's in bed with the blob, the deep state, because they do the bidding of the corporations that own her, right? So the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, is beholden to the corporations. You don't live in a democracy, you live in an oligarchy. So these are the puppets of the oligarchy, right? And Trump came in and he was a bull in a china shop, and that's why the Republican establishment is against Trump, just like the Democratic establishment is against Trump. This is why. Because now
Trump's on point now.
Because he had the 4 years off, he figured out, or the people around him figured out, you got to get rid of USAID. That's where all the power is. You got to get rid of it. He did his second week in office, he did it.
Where was this for years?
Amy Klobuchar says shutting down USAID is not about efficiency. It's about undermining America's global leadership. USAID counters extremism, fights diseases, and creates more markets for U.S. exports. This is reckless and dangerous.
It counters extremism? Did you just say that? Then why are you Democrats always whining about extremism if it's so good?
So I think we at this point we can honestly say that AIDS has done less damage than USAID.
I like AIDS better than Bono from U2, if I'm being honest.
And so she, by the way, Amy Klobuchar is not intelligent or sane enough to go whoops after saying this part out loud.
Yeah, go eat a salad with a comb, you pig.
So here, James Lee is going to let us know what's the truth about USAID. Watch this.
Just his
we
face.
have some news right now. The Trump administration has completely shut down the USAID website, which is the agency responsible for humanitarian assistance around the world.
So that's what they're saying. So that's what all the asswipes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are going to say. All the asswipes on CNN and MSNBC, and I bet even Fox might say it. That he's doing, oh my God, he's taking away aid to people and medicine and humanitarian aid. Well, James Lee is here to disabuse you of that stupid propaganda idea. Here,
his face was perfect. He could have just left it at that, and you would get it.
No. USAID is not just a humanitarian aid organization. It is a front in order to run covert intelligence ops around the world to do coups and regime change operations and all kinds of other criminal activities. In the mid-2000s, USAID was exposed for building a, quote, fake Cuban Twitter designed to lure in young users and slowly feed them anti-government content to spark protests. USAID was also involved in the 2014 coup in Ukraine, which some argue has led to the war in Russia now. And this stuff goes back decades and decades and decades. In 1973, USAID helped pump in millions of dollars to overthrow a democratically elected leader, Salvador Allende, to install a dictatorship that would be more friendly to U.S. interests. The organization is also involved in other sketchy activities like this, pause to read, and also this. Very interesting rabbit hole if you want to go down it. All the while, USAID was actively pressuring media organizations around the world to censor certain narratives. My point is, I'm sure there are some people on the ground doing good work at USAID. I'm sure there's good people doing good work.
Not.
But at its core, it is a criminal organization. I just thought people would benefit from knowing this context.
Yeah.
So they're like, so USAID is a front group for the CIA, a front group, kind of like Jimi Hendrix opening up for the Monkees. The CIA is cool. And if you doubt it, just watch Amazon Prime.
All the cartels. So when we talk about going after the cartels, and I was like, hey, Trump, are you going to go after the CIA cartel? Yeah, he did. All the drug and human trafficking. Who do you think was doing that?
That's right.
These scumbags. They ought to be hung.
So here, Nayib Bukele says most governments don't want USAID funds flowing into their countries because they understand where much of that money actually ends up. While marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups. NGOs means non-governmental organizations with a political agenda, and destabilizing movements, meaning destabilizing their country and their governments. At best, maybe 10% of USAID money reaches real projects that actually help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, and undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. Cutting this so-called aid isn't just beneficial for the United States, it's also a big win for the rest of the world.
That's why the tariffs worked. Because why would they go along with the tariffs? Oh, Trump's actually in charge, and the weird blob of deep state is not going to screw with me. So they're going to go along and let Trump look like he got to win because it's better for everyone that these scumbags are done.
The Trump administration and its allies moved to I can't. So I'm sure there's more that meets the eye to Trump's assassination attempts.
But you know there is.
This would explain why somebody in the deep state wanted him dead.
Wait till the JFK stuff comes out. I can't wait.
Wait till the JFK stuff comes out. The Trump administration and its allies moved to tighten control of the U.S. Agency for International, signaling an intent to act forcefully to bring the U.S. foreign policy apparatus in line with the president's. So this is the whole thing. So even what is president, it doesn't matter who's president, because there was the deep state, the USAID, the CIA, they're all
DOG.
They're there for they're the Department of Defense. They're there permanently. They're called the permanent state. You've heard that, also known as the deep state, the blob. It doesn't matter who's president. They're going to keep doing the shit that they always do, at the behest of the Western economic hitmen. That's what this is. Okay. Current and former officials said, this is from the Washington Post, by the way, which is a CIA operation. To Jeff Bezos.
Always has been.
Jeff Bezos is in bed with the CIA to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars, if not more. Current and former officials said the administration removed 2 top security officials at USAID on Saturday after they refused to allow representatives of the office led by Elon Musk access to the restricted spaces at the. So Trump appoints Elon Musk. Go look into the shenanigans they're doing at you, and they said no. So Trump fired them. So,
well, the next thing, because they're just the above ground version, continuity of government, COG, that's what they're the extension of. So remember we had Scott Ritter on, and he said all these people think they're going to go in underground bunkers, but those bunkers aren't operation. And I asked him about it, and he got cagey. I'll bet Scott knows something. I'll bet all these assholes from COG are quaking in their boots right now.
So they wouldn't let Elon Musk's people have access. Why wouldn't they let him in? Were those officials stuck in a trafficking jam, if you know what I'm talking about? Because that's where they do the human trafficking, the drug trafficking, the poppy in Afghanistan, all that stuff came from USAID.
Yeah, the mean Arkansas drug cartel, Kathy O'Brien talked about that Bill Clinton ran with Hillary in Arkansas. That's all part of the same thing. And they don't do any.
That's right.
Anyone.
That's right. And you see how the Washington Post is reporting this as if it's something bad that Trump and Elon Musk are doing.
Yeah.
The placement of the security officials, some guy named John Voorhees and his deputy, on administrative leave is alarming. It's alarming several lawmakers who are also on the take to the same people who control the deep state. This is all propaganda from the Washington Post. It's alarming several lawmakers concerned about security protocol. Oh, that's what you're concerned about, really?
You're not protected no more. So that's why they're going to knuckle under.
That's right.
I always said it. He has somebody's blackmail. And so that's why the Democrats have no message, because they're waiting for the leader to give them the message. It's not coming. And so it's obvious.
And here's how the Washington Post says it. They're worried about Musk wrestling control of the world's largest provider of food assistance. Oh, that's what this is about. Us helping people with food. You won't provide food assistance for your own people.
By the way, our food
is poison.
They'll confiscate it.
Our food is poison, by the way.
They destroy it like it's fentanyl when they find it.
As long as we don't hear the name Bill Gates in that equation, I will just stand by and see what happens next.
Yeah.
Since President Donald Trump took office 2 weeks ago, the agency has been under siege and whipsawed by aid freezes. Do you see how they describe this? Isn't this amazing? Yeah. Do you see how the Washington Post is doing pure propaganda?
I don't want to praise Trump, but then I read this.
I know. Musk, heading a government efficiency effort under Trump, said on Twitter earlier Monday that he is in the process of closing the agency with Trump's blessing. And I say good. Hey, don't worry. Maybe I heard they're doing hiring over at the FBI now.
He's not even elected, Musk. How does that feel, deep state, to get deep stated out of the deep state?
Isn't this something?
It's a lot of fun.
I went over it with him in detail and agreed that we should shut it down, Musk said. And I actually checked with him a few times and said, "Are you sure?" The answer was yes. And so we're shutting it down, Musk said.
Oh, it's great.
Well, when it's really more Trump than Elon Musk shutting it down. Either way, great job.
Yeah. If Elon Musk said he convinced Trump, I would also praise him for doing that.
Yeah. The episode over the weekend had added to the speculation that Trump would attempt to abolish the agency or merge it into the State Department, and underscores the role of unelected figures led by, guess who else is unelected? All the people running USAID. They're also unelected.
All the scum from the WEF, all those scumbags.
Guess who else is unelected? Everybody in the CIA. Guess who else is unelected? Everybody in the Department of Defense. They're all unelected. They led by Musk, the richest man in the world, in an administration's push to remake the federal government. People voted for him to remake the federal government.
Yeah.
So you're undermining democracy by printing an article like this. Because democracy has spoken, and democracy said, Trump, please do this. And now he's doing it.
Yeah. Wait till they find out Pizzagate's real, how upset they're going to be.
Wait till. It also highlights the new administration's more transactional view of global engagement and its determination to refocus public spending on activities that yield tangible impacts for U.S. citizens. I can't really understand what point they're trying to make there.
You actually have to achieve something that you said you were going to do. That's what transactional means.
Yes.
Not just be an academic jerk off in the Cecil Rhodes roundtable system.
Glenn Greenwald. So look at this article. It says Cuban Twitter and other times the USAID pretended to be an intelligence agency.
Wait, I thought it pretends not to be.
Foreign governments have long accused the U.S. Agency for International Development of being a front for the CIA or other groups dedicated to their collapse. In the case of Cuba, they appear to have been right. In an eye-opening display of incompetence, the United States covertly launched a social media platform in Cuba in 2010. So here's Glenn Greenwald saying the least surprising thing ever is watching Democrats like Amy Klobuchar defend the CIA front known as USAID, deceitfully depicting it as just some nice organization that wants to help people.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to do their own research, the people that like her, right? So it's a safe bet to lie to them because they're morons that don't do their own research. And not only that, that's one thing to not be a reader, but then to think people that are readers are dumber than you, that's a special level of moron.
Yep. So here, Kanoka the Great, just to give you one last explanation of what USAID is. It funneled $53 million to Echo Health Alliance, which then used U.S. taxpayer funds to support gain-of-function research on coronaviruses at the Wuhan lab, research that likely led to the creation of COVID-19.
It's coming out. The bioweapon info's coming out. Wah, wah.
The CIA's deception regarding COVID-19, the CIA's deception, what? They deceived us about COVID-19 origins becomes much clearer when considering USAID's long history of serving as a CIA front organization.
Hey, I said they leaked it on purpose on Rogan's show, and I know Trump's kid watches it, so I hope that got up to Trump if he didn't already know, but I bet he did already know.
This can't be the reason why they didn't want Musk and Trump going through their files, because we would find out they were funding bioweapons and gain-of-function research. Could it be?
Jimmy, I think the great Larry Ellison who once said, if you didn't do nothing wrong, you don't got to worry when we look through all your stuff, right?
Remember that? So with an annual budget exceeding $50 billion and activities in over 100 countries, USAID has repeatedly been linked to intelligence activities. Former USAID Director John Gilligan, not the guy from Gilligan's Island, once admitted the agency was infiltrated from top to bottom with CIA people. So the director of USAID said it was top to bottom. It's a CIA operation, explaining
Gilligan! I feel like the skipper. Gilligan!
That the idea was to plant operatives in every kind of activity we had overseas. Government, volunteer, religious, every kind of operation.
Oh, and at home. And at
home. In 2013, a U.S. cable published by WikiLeaks outlined the United States strategy to undermine Venezuela's government through USAID, penetrating Hugo Chavez's political base, dividing Chavismo, and isolating Chavez internationally. I mean, if you can't trust a recently installed religious figure, I don't know who you can trust. In 2014, the Associated Press revealed that USAID funded the creation of a Twitter-like platform intended to incite a rebellion in Cuba. USAID funding has been linked to coups in Haiti, Ukraine, Egypt, and other nations. From 2009 to 2019, USAID partnered with EcoHealth Alliance on the Predicts program, which identified 1,200 new viruses, trained 5,000 people globally in disease detection, and enhanced 60 research labs.
With leaks?
Whenever the organization is called something like EcoHealth, it's not there to help your health. It's there to destroy the world and stomp out your immune system, just so you know.
It's there to kill you to help the echo.
It's kind of like calling the Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. Oh, wait. The partnership provided the CIA with a direct channel for embedding human assets within biological research facilities worldwide in exchange for funding and technology transfers. In 2022, Dr. Andrew Huff, a former vice president at EcoHealth Alliance, publicly revealed Dr. Peter Daszak's alleged ties to the CIA.
Alleged?
The core issue, the CIA lied to the American public about COVID-19's origins because acknowledging the truth would expose its likely role in funneling taxpayer money through USAID to finance gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. And you remember that video I showed you the other day when morons at the Young Turks like Anna Kasparian said, oh, that's a conspiracy theory that the virus came from a lab. The intelligence community has debunked that. That's how dumb they are at the Young Turks. They don't know that what the CIA says is a lie and propaganda, and their job in the news media is to find out where they're lying and always be skeptical instead of breathlessly repeating propaganda. That's what the Young Turks specializes in. They've been repeating CIA and FBI propaganda since Trump was elected in 2016, which is why I had to leave that place. It was nothing but a propaganda. It was no different between them and MSNBC, and there still isn't.
Cenk knows Anna. Just that statement is that's how you know she's dumb. Where she goes, the intelligence community
debunked it.
Don't never change, Anna. You sweet angel. You don't. I mean, what a moron.
You vindictive, lying moron. CIA tried to pay off analysts to bury findings that COVID lab leak was likely. Who says that? A whistleblower. That was back in 2023.
Oh, yeah, I saw it on Young Turks. Just kidding.
And now you can count the number of my shitlib friends who will hear this news and still come up with an excuse to support USAID. But Jimmy, everyone else is dishonest and evil. We have to keep it up.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. And here's the funding. Federal funding of EcoHealth Alliance, Health and Human Services, the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, USDA, USAID.
Wow. See, now it makes sense. That's what all this China stuff is, because clearly we're making viruses in Wuhan again. So clearly there's some kind of beyond national borders alliance going on. And I got told by somebody with a national press, I won't say the guy's name, but he was explaining to me that you always hear when they say China's got a population bomb coming because they don't have enough kids. They want to clear out some of the old brush as well. So you see why you'd work together to make a bioweapon to clear out the old.
So the CIA tried to pay off analysts to bury findings that the COVID lab leak was where the COVID-19 virus came from. So just so you know, the only thing cheaper to buy than a scientist is a scratcher at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I think a scientist is cheaper because just think of the enormity of that Jon Stewart's the only guy who had a one nut to say that on TV.
Only guy.
Shut down. But like his very obvious joke that everyone should have been saying, the Wuhan virus lab, do you think that might be where the virus came from? And they managed to make a bunch of people go, that's ridiculous. A man ate bat wings. That's what happened.
It's like standing outside of a a Burger King wondering where the burger came from. It's on the building. It's on the building. It says Wuhan Viral Research Institute.
Did you have sex with a pangolin? Is that how you got a burger?
Where'd you get that burger from? Did they make it in a lab in a basement somewhere?
Did that burger come from a Chinese wet market or from the Burger King that you're standing in front of?
The name's on the building.
Do you understand how mind control works? Like,
yes.
That is something so obvious that you shouldn't even have friends that don't know this.
Can you believe that during COVID, Kurt, all the people who claim to be anti-establishment and smarty pants people and skeptics and anti-establishment, they all repeated complete 100% propaganda from evil people like CIA. They all did it, and they shamed you, for questioning it. Don't do your own research. Just all I do is I check in with the TV once a week, and I see what the man on the TV was told to say by the CIA, and that's what I do. I've heard people say that.
Yeah, listen to the man on the TV.
Listen to the man on the TV.
Oh my God.
Jimmy, why don't you bring on some more mainstream doctors? I had people tell me that. Jimmy, why don't you bring on more mainstream doctors to talk about COVID? I had people tell me that.
Just got appointed to the thing. Didn't he just get appointed? And he's mainstream?
Who's that?
Jay Bhattacharya?
Jay Bhattacharya. Yeah, I did bring him on.
That is the mainstream now, cows.
He was from Stanford, and now he's the head of the NIH. Is that not mainstream enough for you?
Oh, wow.
Come see us on tour in Dallas, Austin, Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, New York, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohoes, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for the link for the cheapest tickets.